Okay, I think we got it all sorted out. So thank you so much for waiting, and bonus thank you to Kelly for jumping in and helping out. I will be giving my talk, Hacking the Learning Curve, Lessons Learned from My First Year in Cybersecurity. Okay, I've already got the slides up, and awesome. Looks like everything's good. So, hi, nice to meet you, everyone. My name is Miasya Bulger. I am a software engineer at Asana, and today I will be talking about hacking the learning curve, lessons learned from my first year in cybersecurity. I will be sharing stories about all the mistakes that I made and the lessons that I learned along the way. This talk is about self-improvement, self-discovery. So if you are deeply curious about learning in your roles and you want to be confident that you're spending your time focused on the right things, then this talk is for you. My goal here is to empower you in your first cybersecurity role. So whether you are a student, a security practitioner already, technical or non-technical, I hope that these takeaways will be highly relevant for everyone. Okay, about me. So my name is Miasya. I have 2 years of software engineer experience, one on an infrastructure team and one on a security team. The security role was my first job out of school. In the security side, I was focused on threat detection and response, where my mission was to keep customer data safe by detecting security threats and incidents before they happen. Here's an overview on how I've structured this talk. I will be sharing 6 of my mistakes, admitting 6 of my mistakes to the world, and sharing 6 corresponding takeaways, which I've grouped into a sliding scale, 3 categories of mild, medium, and spicy. Mild advice is more common advice, maybe something that you've heard before, but this advice is often overlooked, and I think it's good, simple advice deserves the additional merit, especially since sometimes it's really easy to forget in your day-to-day. On the other end, we have the spicy advice, which is a little more complex in flavor. It's maybe a little controversial. They're takeaways that you have to learn the hard way in order to realize the real ground truth in them. All right, that's it for my introduction. Let's bring the heat. So, first section, mild takes. Now, the first mistake I made was trying to do everything by myself and working on a project in isolation. I maybe was experiencing a bit of imposter syndrome here. I was working on my project a couple months into my first role. This was my project, my first, non-onboarding project being supported by someone else. I was so excited to ship this on my own and to show my ability that I was highly capable to myself and the rest of the team, that I was just trying to go full steam ahead and work on this with no help whatsoever. But as the project grew in technical complexity, there were open questions that I was not able to answer. There were roadblocks and limitations. There were things that I didn't know. And I was working on this project every day and making minimal progress on it. And I realized that at the rate that I was going, the project was not going to be delivered on time. That was the reality of it. And I talked to my manager about the situation. And what I learned is that, first of all, I was not expected to know everything. Like, yes, I could probably deliver this project on my own as I planned, but it would take me 3 times the amount of time. That's not ideal. And what the actual thing that my team is looking for is that I deliver a high quality, on-time project. That's what people get promoted for, not working in isolation. So takeaway number 1 is ask questions. If you tune out here and this is the only thing that you learn from this presentation is to ask questions, just please, this is the most important tool that I continue to use day to day, even 2 years in, and it will help you get stuff done. Mistake number 2, being too shy to reach out to people for mentorship. Now, I think this is really easy to do, and I still have to work this out sometimes. But when you see someone who's really cool and accomplished, and you think, I would love to talk to them, please reach out. Because I would oftentimes disqualify myself and not make those reach outs. I would say, okay, they're so cool, they're so accomplished, they must not have time for me. They must have no interest in talking to me. Like, I am just a student, or I'm just a junior engineer. I'm not worth their time. But someone once told me to turn it around and imagine if I was on the receiving end of this network request. If you got this message that says, hey, I think you've done some amazing work in your field, I would love to learn from you, that's a very positive message to receive. Maybe they're too busy. Yeah, that's true. But let them decide if they can fit you in their calendar or not. Don't prematurely decide for them. So I especially recommend reaching out to people who work at your current company, because in my personal experience, one of the best and strongest mentorship relationships that I have developed in my career is with someone who, several months into our mentorship relationship, they became my manager. Like, an opening opened up on another team, and I was able to join it because I had all this shared context. I'd learned from them so much, and I think that has facilitated a lot of growth in my career already. So takeaway number 2 is network. Build those meaningful connections. You will be glad that you did. Medium takeaways. Getting a little warmer here. Okay. Mistake number 3 was playing to my strengths, which I think, as someone who's socialized as a woman, these strengths tend to be like interpersonal or organizational skills. I don't want to generalize for everyone, but in my personal experience, these are the things that I knew that I was good at, that I was strong at. And so when work came up on my team that would use those organizational skills, like writing status updates or figure out the timeline for a project, in other words, like glue work, that would be the work that I self-volunteered for. However, the reality is I am hired as a cybersecurity professional. I'm not hired as a project manager. And so if I'm in a specialized role, then I need to build the specialized skill set. In this case, for me, it's software. So it can be really difficult to like advocate to take on the work that you're less confident in. Maybe you even feel like a little vulnerable taking on that work. I know that I do. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that I've like looked at a piece of code and I'm like, I have no idea what this does, how this works, but like, I can't avoid working with code. Like, that would be incredibly detrimental to my career. So I would say that try to aim to be most improved, like lean into the important skill sets that you don't necessarily already possess and build upon those. Think long-term about your career instead of doing the things that you're already good at and trying to be best at them. In other words, say yes to the challenges that stretch you. I have a really good article on glue work here. I would love for you to check it out. So, mistake number 4, staying quiet or observational on a new team instead of pointing out the awkward process. This is an easy pit to fall into. You're on a new team. You don't really want to like rock the boat. You're just taking it all in. But realize that one of the most valuable things you can do on a new team is to point out that awkward process. You have a lens, a perspective that people on the team don't have. And there might be some redundant meetings or there might be some really like manual repeated annoying things that people have just gotten used to and like don't really notice how ineffective they are. So one of the ways you can deliver value right away, pointing out this awkward process. The takeaway here, eliminate the process, like destroy it, clean it up, automate whatever manual processes you can, and realize that you are immediately valuable to your team. Okay, spicy takeaways. I'm gonna take a sip of water before I get into this. Cool. Now this is where I might get a little personal. So mistake number 5 is making mistakes in my technical work, my day-to-day work. It's the mistakes that you try your best and yet you don't succeed. And one of the most memorable times where I've tried my best and I haven't succeeded is when I was trying to make a change to, if anyone's familiar with Kubernetes, I was trying to make a change to a certain deployment, and I had tested it. I was testing my changes before I was trying to say, okay, push out this change to our real services, the ones that actually serve customers. And it didn't work. There were edge cases, there was situations that I didn't think of, there were systems interactions that I didn't think of. And so the failed deployment before it reached customers, thank goodness, went and blocked other engineers from making their changes. I'm trying to keep this high level, but basically, I made a mistake in my technical work and it was visible to other people. Other people had to help me fix it. And I was super embarrassed. I didn't really want to work on this project anymore. Like, I was like, this is my worst nightmare. Everybody's going to think I'm terrible. Honestly, it's not such a big deal, but it felt terrible. But, you know, like, what are you supposed to do when you make a mistake? Like, you make sure it's fixed, you learn from it, you move forward. And one of the most important things someone has said to me is like, look at the experienced engineer, security professional, look at someone later in their career and ask yourself, do you think that they got to this position without ever making a mistake? And the answer is no. Everybody has made mistakes at different points of their career. And it's something that is unavoidable, and it's something that you should be really proud of because it means that you are learning from that experience, that you are growing, that you are moving forward. And so I would say, do what you can, make your best educated guess, do your due diligence, do the work, and make mistakes. Break production services. Yes. Well, try not to, but if you do, take it as a point of pride. Okay, mistake number 6, paying lots of money for big conferences as a student. I remember when I was just about to graduate, I'm like, okay, I have an offer lined up. I'm going to be in cybersecurity. I'm going to hit the ground running. I'm going to make sure I go into this job knowing so much about security and everything related to security. And so I paid a lot of money. I got a flight to Vegas. I went to this huge conference called DEF CON. It's an absolutely massive security conference. And I spent hundreds of dollars on a ticket. And, you know, it was a good conference. It was well organized, lots of different talks and all that. But honestly, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think the benefit of going to the conference wasn't worth the financial impact it had on me. Like, if you get a scholarship or if your company pays for you to go, by all means attend, but you know, I want to remove that sense of FOMO for those big name conferences that are like advertised or you hear about everywhere. It's like you don't really need to go for those. You can do a really fantastic job of learning about security, building community at other conferences that I find that are a little more like intimate, that have like this fantastic impact. So I think that like Day of Security is 100% one of these conferences. I've attended several events in the past. I love to see how they've grown. The team puts so much effort into organizing it. And I'd say that like I am really happy that these opportunities are available. So use them, attend these conferences, learn from them, and don't feel so much pressure about going to like DEF CON using your own cash. Okay. Now, here is my recap slide. Let's recap this together. Here is the 6 lessons that the mistakes I made, the lessons I learned, and 6 of the key takeaways, like mapped numerically to each other. I hope that in these mistakes, with these takeaways, that you can all pick maybe 2 or 3 that you want to take away from this presentation, the ones that stood out to you most, that resonated with you, the ones that you want to like go beyond the step of hearing it and agreeing it and go into like implementing it, practicing it, asking yourself like, how can I do this in my current or future roles? And at the end of the day, I know my talk is about hacking the learning curve. I'm trying to save you all the trouble of learning the hard way, but remember that learning is a process. It's a unique journey for everyone. So don't worry about overly optimizing it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, be kind to yourself, and I promise to you that you will crush it. This has been my first ever conference talk. I'm so happy to be able to share it with you. Thank you so much, Day of Security family. Here is how to connect with me. I would love to, like I said, network. Let me know if you have questions. Cool. Okay. I'm going to leave this up for 10 more seconds so you can find my contact info. I know we don't have enough time today for any like live Q&A, but yeah, I really appreciate it.